They threw away my son's drawing. A crumpled piece of paper in a trash bin, his little hands had written, "Family Forever" in green crayon. That was the moment I knew. They hadn't just erased me. They erased him, too. Hi, I'm Rachel. A mother, a daughter, and, until recently, the family ghost. They moved into a shiny new house and pretended we never existed, so I did what they didn't see coming. I took it back. But how I did it, and why? That's the part no one in the family dares to say out loud. Before we dive into the story, let me learn a bit about you. If you're a charming lady, please leave the number 1 in the comments. And if you're a dashing gentleman, leave the number 2. This way, I can send you a special greeting. Now, let's start the story together. I was folding Noah's little t-shirts when the phone buzzed. The sound was soft, barely there, but it might as well have been a fire alarm. I glanced at the screen, not expecting much. Probably a sale alert or an app I forgot to delete. But it wasn't. It was Ashley. Dinner this Sunday. Would be nice to see you and Noah. No emojis, no "Hey sis, how are you?" Just that, plain as oatmeal. I stared at the message, blinking like it might change. Like if I looked long enough, it would sprout a second line. Something that explained the silence. The holidays skipped. The birthdays missed. But it didn't. It sat there, cold and vague, like someone tapping at your door and walking away before you can answer. I didn't reply. I dropped the phone beside the laundry basket and turned back to the tiny jeans and superhero socks. My hands kept folding, but my mind wasn't in it anymore. I could hear Mom's voice from a year ago, after our last blow-up. If you really wanted peace, you'd come home on your knees. That sentence stuck to the inside of my skull like gum. Peace, she called it. I called it erasure. Noah padded into the kitchen, his socked feet whispering over the linoleum. He was holding his sketchbook, the one with a bent corner and the dinosaur stickers on the back. "Mom?" he said, voice full of that natural curiosity kids wear like a second skin. "Was that Aunt Ashley?" I swallowed. "Yeah, baby." He tilted his head. "Are we going to Grandma's house?" I hesitated too long. That boy could read silence like a book. "Really?" His eyes lit up. "We're going." The excitement hit me harder than the message. His face, hopeful, open, unscarred, undid something in me. I forced a smile, my jaw tight with effort. "Yeah, sweetie, we're going." That night, after dinner and his bath, I packed his small backpack. Fresh jeans, a button-up shirt he'd outgrow in 6 months, his sketchbook, and 3 stubby crayons, green, blue, and orange. He had others, but those were his favorites. I tucked a pack of Reese's Minis in the side pocket. He'd never ask, but I knew he liked having them, a comfort just in case things got awkward. Outside, the rain started tapping the windows, slow and steady. The kind of rain Portland wore like a second skin in November. I stood by the window, hands wrapped around a chipped mug, the one with a faded red cardinal painted on the side. The tea had gone cold. I hadn't noticed. The apartment smelled like cinnamon waffles and the lavender dish soap Noah insisted we keep because it smelled like bedtime. It was warm here, not just the heat, but the feeling. Our little 2-bedroom had seen enough nights filled with laughter, spilled juice, and whispered stories to feel like a home. I wasn't sure I wanted to trade that, even for a night. Still holding the mug, I picked up my phone from the counter. My thumb hovered over the message. Then I typed, "We'll be there." The moment I hit send, something in me sunk. It felt like betrayal, not to them, but to myself. I knew what waited in that house. Polite tension, tight smiles, a table full of chairs, most of them not for us. Later, after tucking Noah in, I found him already asleep, curled on his side with his otter plush under one arm and the sketchbook cradled against his chest. His breathing was soft even. I brushed a curl from his forehead. "We're not going for me," I whispered, standing in the dark kitchen. "We're going for him." I pulled open the drawer near the sink. Inside was an old manila envelope, corners worn, top flap curling from use. It was full of family photos, snapshots of smiles I wasn't sure were ever real. My hand hovered, then retreated. I closed the drawer slowly and walked away. There are things we carry because no one else will, and sometimes the heaviest thing in the world is deciding to show up. We pulled into the driveway 5 minutes early. I had meant to stall, maybe circle the block a few times, but Noah was too eager. His legs bounced the whole ride over, the box of cupcakes balanced carefully in his lap like it was made of glass. Margaret's house looked the same. 2 stories of beige predictability, white shutters, and perfectly trimmed hedges. The kind of house that tried too hard not to offend. A fresh wreath hung on the door, red berries too bright to be real. Before I could even ring the bell, the door opened. Margaret stood there in her usual beige sweater, pearls resting just above her collarbone like punctuation. "You're early," she said. Not surprised, just mildly inconvenienced. Noah didn't wait. He darted inside with a breathless, "Hi, Grandma!" She smiled. At him. Just him. "Look how tall you've gotten," she said, ruffling his hair like he was a visiting pet. I stepped in behind him. The smell of garlic bread was heavy in the air, undercut by lemon polish and something faintly floral. Lavender, probably. Margaret always over-scented the house before guests arrived. She leaned in for a kiss on my cheek, just a brush, a ceremony. "You look healthy," she said, which was code for, "I don't know how to greet you anymore." The dining room was already set. Long table, polished silverware, linen napkins folded with strange precision. Each place had a small, handwritten card. Ashley, Matthew, Robert. Even the children had cards, Logan, Ellie, Finn. I looked for hours. There were no cards that said Rachel, none that said Noah. A silence bloomed in my chest, wide and hard. I walked slowly to the pantry, opened the door I knew all too well, and grabbed 2 folding chairs from behind the vacuum. The metal creaked in my hand. I carried them to the end of the table and unfolded them in the shadow of the kitchen island. Noah stood beside me, small fingers tugging at my sleeve. "Mom," he whispered. They forgot us. I smiled with my teeth, not my eyes. "They probably just ran out of time," I said. My voice felt like it had splinters in it. Dinner was already being plated. Ashley's voice carried from the other end of the table. Something about a new role at work and a cruise they were planning for spring. Laughter rippled. Wine glasses clinked. Someone passed the green bean casserole with performative generosity. No one looked in our direction. No one asked about Noah's school or my work or how we'd been. I sat still, back straight, chewing slowly and pretending not to hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Across the table, Robert watched the game from the den, half turned away from us. Noah dug into his backpack and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was the drawing he'd made earlier that week. All of us, him, me, Grandma, Ashley, even Grandpa Robert, standing in front of this very house. He'd written "Family Forever" across the top in bright green crayon. He beamed. "I made this for you, Grandma," he said, holding it out with both hands. Margaret looked up, took the paper without really seeing it, gave it a cursory glance, and walked to the front hall. She set it gently by the shoe rack, next to a damp umbrella and a bag of returns for the department store, then turned back to the table. She didn't say thank you. Noah sat back down, fidgeting with his fork. His eyes flicked toward the drawing, then to me. "Do you think she liked it?" he asked, voice so soft it barely touched the air. My throat tightened. "Of course she did," I said, smiling the way you do when your heart is cracking open, piece by piece. Dessert came next, apple pie still warm, scent curling through the room like a peace offering I didn't trust. Plates were passed, compliments made, a candle was lit. Noah's plate stayed empty. No one noticed. I reached over, sliced a piece myself, and slid it in front of him. He gave me a little smile and dug in like nothing was wrong. But everything was. Forks clinked, coffee brewed. The folded chairs creaked when we shifted. And across the room, that crayon drawing sat untouched, bright colors bleeding against the beige walls of a house that forgot we existed. We stepped out into the chilly evening, the porch light casting long shadows across the driveway. I helped Noah into his jacket, zipping it up while he hummed a soft tune under his breath. The kind of tune kids make up, the kind that carries hope even when the air is too quiet. Margaret came to the door holding a small Tupperware. "Here," she said, handing it to me like it meant something. "Leftover casserole, probably." I took it with a tight nod. She didn't say goodbye, just closed the door slowly, like she was sealing off a room that no longer mattered. Noah had already skipped ahead to the car, but I paused at the hallway before leaving. The photo wall caught my eye. It was different, updated. Brighter lighting, new frames, all perfectly aligned. Kendra and her family at the lake, Robert grinning beside Ashley at a charity gala, even a snapshot of Margaret beaming next to my ex-husband Dean, only it used to be the three of us in that photo. Now I was gone, cropped out. A sliver of hair, a blurred background tree, that's all that remained of me. Driving home, Noah's voice broke the silence. "Can we come again next Sunday?" I gripped the wheel, my fingers tightening until the joints ached. "We'll see," I murmured. He smiled at the window, tracing a raindrop with his finger like he didn't hear the distance in my voice. At home, the apartment felt warmer than usual. Cinnamon and detergent lingered in the air. I tucked Noah into bed, his sketchbook still in his hands. He had drawn our family again, us holding hands, in front of a house with too many windows and not enough light. I sat at the kitchen table afterward, my laptop glowing softly. I scrolled through old photos, Noah's first birthday, Thanksgiving, when Ashley still called me her partner in chaos, even that day when Margaret insisted we frame a photo of her with baby Noah. She used to say, "This child makes our family complete." Now, nothing. I opened the old family group chat. It had been quiet for months. No new messages, no check-ins, no memes, not even one of Robert's groan-worthy dad jokes. It was like we had been erased in real time. The next morning was gray and uninviting. I drove Noah to school, then followed an old habit I hadn't indulged in years. I drove to the house we used to call home, not the one we visited last night, the one before that, the real one. The lawn looked tired. The curtains were gone. The for sale sign had vanished. Something in me knew before I even turned off the engine. They'd moved. I stepped out of the car, crunching over wet leaves. The house was empty. Through the windows, I could see dust where the couch used to be, a faint square on the wall where that oversized mirror once hung. Out by the curb, the trash bins were still out. "Noah," I said gently, "stay by the car." But he was already beside one of the bins, peeking in with the fearless curiosity only kids carry. "Mom," he called, voice trembling. "Come here." Inside the bin, beneath old newspapers and cardboard, were bits and pieces of our life. His drawing from last night, crumpled, edges damp. A photo of me holding him as a baby, creased sharply, as if someone had tried to tear us apart with their hands. A birthday card in his handwriting, the kind kids make in school with glue and cut-out hearts. I reached in, fingers shaking, and pulled out the drawing. My thumb brushed the corner. It felt like touching a scar. Noah was quiet. Too quiet. Then, in the softest voice, he asked, "Are we still their family?" I didn't look at him. I couldn't. But my voice was steady. "No, baby, because family doesn't throw you away." We rode home in silence. The casserole Margaret gave me sat untouched on the passenger seat. That night, after Noah was asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop again. The glow from the screen lit the shadows under my eyes. I opened a new email. The subject line, "Emotional exclusion, evidence of harm." I wasn't ready for war, but I wasn't swallowing it anymore either. Some people send flowers. I sent a PDF labeled "Cease and Desist." The rain hadn't let up in days. Outside my apartment, the streets were a mirror of gray and drizzle, and inside, everything felt just a little bit too quiet. Noah sat at the kitchen table surrounded by crayons. but the usual hum of his singing had gone silent. His head was bowed, shoulders drawn in tight. He wasn't coloring dinosaurs or rocket ships today, just shapes, circles inside squares, squares inside circles. I didn't interrupt. I made us both some oatmeal, hoping the warmth would pull him out of whatever space he'd drifted into. He gave me a faint smile and took a few bites, but he didn't say a word. After I cleared the dishes, I pulled out my phone. Maybe I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Ashley had posted photos from Liam's birthday party. The whole feed was confetti and balloons, frosting-smeared cheeks, colorful hats, grinning faces, faces that didn't include my son. There was even one of Vera, hugging Liam like he was the only child who ever mattered. I didn't know there had even been a party. Noah had finished his oatmeal by then and climbed up beside me on the couch. He peeked over my shoulder. His little voice soft and steady. Was that Liam's party? I nodded, trying not to let my mouth harden. He was quiet for a second, then turned to me. Can we bake something for him? Maybe cupcakes? I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, no, sweetheart, you don't bake for people who pretend you don't exist. But instead, I smiled. Tight, tired. Sure, baby, that's a sweet idea. We spent the afternoon baking. He chose vanilla, Liam's favorite. We mixed green and blue frosting because those are his team colors, Noah said, his face finally lighting up. I let him do the piping, even though the swirls came out crooked and uneven. When we boxed them up, he held the container like it was made of glass. It was already dusk when we pulled up to Vera's house. Lights glowed behind the curtains. Her car was in the driveway. The yard was trimmed. Nothing had changed, and yet everything had. Noah bounced up the steps and knocked, still beaming. Vera opened the door in a robe, looking startled. "Oh, hi, sweetie." Her smile was clipped. She glanced behind her before stepping out and closing the door just enough to block the hallway. Noah extended the box with both hands. We made cupcakes. I wanted to say happy birthday to Liam. Her eyes shifted. That's very thoughtful. But now's not really a good time. But he looked down at the box. I just wanted to give them to him. She reached out gently, pushing the container back toward him. I'll let him know you stopped by, okay? Then the door clicked shut. Noah didn't cry. He didn't ask questions. He just walked back to the car, got in, and buckled himself up. I glanced at him in the rearview mirror. He was staring straight ahead. I guess they don't like vanilla, he said. The air left my lungs like I'd been punched. That night, after his bath, he curled up beside me on the couch. Maybe if I were more like Liam, he whispered, they'd love me too. I turned to him and held his face in my hands. Number. Maybe if they loved you, they'd act like it. He didn't say anything after that. He just leaned into my side and fell asleep, breathing slow and steady. When I was sure he was out, I opened my laptop. I started with the voicemails, the one from Kendra last Christmas. It might be easier if you just dropped him off. The family dynamic's been tense lately. My jaw clenched as I replayed it. Not shocked, just confirmed. Then came the texts. Ashley's dismissive replies, Vera's guilt-laced excuses, birthday messages ignored, group chats gone quiet. I found photos of drawings Noah had made, his crayon-signed Family Forever pieces, now reduced to screenshots because the originals were in the trash. I added timelines, receipts, everything I could. When I hit send, the subject line read, Emotional exclusion, evidence of psychological harm to minor. I sent it to Danica Rhodes, a lawyer I had quietly researched after that last visit. Her bio said she focused on family dynamics, elder law, and cases involving minor well-being. Her reviews were full of phrases like gentle bulldog and calm in the storm. She replied 12 hours later. Her email was brief, but each word felt like a foundation brick beneath my feet. You have a case, she wrote. It's not just exclusion. This borders on targeted harm, documented and repeated. I'm preparing a draft. Let me know when you're ready. By the time I read it, Noah was fast asleep, his sketchbook open beside him, a half-drawn sun peeking over the corner of the page. That evening, Danica sent the first draft of the letter. It was sharp, clear, no venom, just facts. It named names, outlined dates, detailed incidents. At the center of it all, the quiet evidence of a little boy excluded by the very people who once called him the light of our lives. At the end, Danica had written one last line. "I can send this as soon as you say the word." I stared at those words. My hand hovered over the keyboard. I thought about the cupcakes, the crayon drawing, the photo of Noah in Vera's arms the day he was born. Then I typed, "Send it," and hit enter. The letters went out on a Thursday. By Friday, I was a problem. But finally, I wasn't invisible. For years, I'd been easy to overlook. I had let them talk over me, forget me, silence me with politeness and platitudes. But this time, I didn't raise my voice. I just raised my threshold. I saw Margaret's name pop up on my phone at 7:04 a.m. sharp. A text. "We need to talk. This has gone too far." No greeting, no warmth. Just that cold tone she always used when I did something inconvenient. I didn't respond. Instead, I closed my eyes and let the silence reply for me. Noah was sitting on the rug, surrounded by colored pencils, drawing what looked like a spaceship. "Mom, can we go to the big park today, the one with the zip line?" "We can," I said, "but we'll bring rain jackets. Might drizzle again." While he drew, I made coffee. The voicemail from Ashley came just after breakfast. Her voice hissed through the speaker. "Seriously? A lawyer? What is wrong with you, Rachel? You're acting like a victim again. This is family. We don't sue each other." I set the phone down and stirred the soup for lunch. The garlic filled the apartment with a warmth I needed. I didn't delete the message. I forwarded it to Danica instead. Later that day, Danica emailed me. "All letters delivered and acknowledged. If they don't comply, we escalate. You've done everything right." I leaned back in the chair. It didn't feel like victory, but it did feel solid. Noah and I walked to the grocery store that afternoon. The air had cleared just enough to see the faint outline of Mount Hood in the distance. A hint of sun filtered through the gray. "Look," Noah said, pointing. "The mountain's out. Sometimes peace looks like a mountain you can barely see, but you still know it's there." That evening, I tapped open an old photo-sharing app I'd almost forgotten. There it was, the group Real Family Thread. I hadn't posted there in over a year. I tried clicking into it. Access denied. No photos of Noah. Not one. Not even the one I sent on his first day of second grade. Back when I still believed inclusion meant care. My chest went still. Not heavy. Just quiet. Scrolling through Instagram, I saw Kendra's latest post, a picture-perfect family BBQ, matching aprons, a golden retriever, Ashley holding a pitcher of lemonade like it was a magazine shoot. But this time, the comments were different. "Thought your sister had a son? Where's your nephew? Wow, family goals minus someone?" I didn't comment. I didn't need to. By nightfall, Ashley had turned off comments altogether. Margaret called from a blocked number. I didn't answer. The voicemail came anyway. "You win. Happy now." The bitterness in her voice didn't sting like it used to. I listened once, then again, then forwarded it to Danica without blinking. The next day, when I dropped Noah off at school, something shifted. Mr. Barnett, one of the dads who usually barely nodded, looked up and said, "Hey, Rachel. Tough week, huh?" I nodded. "Yeah. A little." A few other parents waved as I walked back to my car. Nothing dramatic, just the kind of nods that say, "We see you." At dinner, Noah poked at his spaghetti. "Do you think they miss us now?" he asked, not looking up. I dried my hands on a dish towel and crouched beside him. "Maybe," I said, "but missing someone doesn't mean they treated you right." He nodded slowly, like he was tucking that sentence somewhere safe in his heart. Then came the email. Subject, request for peaceful resolution. It was from Kendra's lawyer. Polite, vague, nervous, in a legal kind of way. Our client wishes to resolve matters amicably. I knew what that meant. They were scared. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I walked down the hallway of our apartment, past the frame that used to hold a faded picture of all of us on a camping trip. That photo was long gone now. In its place was a new one, just me and Noah holding cupcakes in front of our kitchen. He had frosting on his nose, and I was laughing. I paused, straightened the frame just a little, then walked on. Sometimes silence isn't a retreat. It's a decision. A wall that says, you don't get to walk over me anymore. And this time, I wasn't stepping back. They moved on. But this time, so did I, and not in circles. Every Sunday morning, Noah and I take the same trail around Lake Oswego. It's quiet here. The kind of quiet that holds you gently. Mist hovers over the surface like it's still dreaming, and ducks ripple the water in slow, thoughtful lines. There's a bench halfway around the loop, just past the second bridge. That's our spot. Noah sketches birds while I sip coffee from a thermos. He's getting better, more confident with his lines, bolder with color. Today he's drawing a goose. Last week it was the two of us walking hand in hand, surrounded by trees. There's no need to rush anymore. Sunday mornings aren't about dress shoes, side dishes, or strained conversation. They're about walking slowly, breathing deeply, and letting silence be something kind instead of cold. Back home, our apartment feels warmer somehow. Not bigger, just more hours. A few weeks ago, an envelope arrived, no return address. Inside, a simple card with Margaret's handwriting. I recognized it instantly. Maybe we misunderstood you, it read. That was it. No apology, no explanation, just 5 words. I didn't cry, I didn't throw it away either. I tucked it behind the photo of Noah and me, one they once tossed like trash. This time, it stays. Mr. Alton still visits. Once a week, he brings cookies, oatmeal raisin, or sometimes snickerdoodles, and plays chess with Noah. He always lets him win, though not too obviously. Maybe you're just too smart for me, he jokes, tapping his temple. Noah grins. Maybe you need to practice more. I'm thankful for Mr. Alton, not because he fills a void, but because he never tries to. He just shows up. And sometimes, that's all a person needs. Therapy has become part of my week now, too. Not something I do because I'm broken, but because I'm rebuilding. My therapist, a gentle woman with eyes like soft rain, listens more than she speaks. Last session, I told her the whole story, not just the events, but the ache, the quiet ways people undo you. When I finished, she said, "Your healing has to be personal. No one else can define it." I wrote that down. That night, Noah crawled into bed beside me, curling into my side like he used to when he was smaller. "I'm glad it's just us," he whispered. "Me too, baby," I said, brushing his hair back. There was no bitterness in my voice, just peace. He fell asleep quickly. I stayed awake, not restless, but reflective. I thought about how long I tried to belong to a family that saw me as optional. How many Sunday dinners I endured, how many silences I mistook for safety. And then I thought about now, about morning walks, messy drawings, and oatmeal cookies. This isn't the life I imagined. It's quieter, but it's whole. This morning, I placed a new frame on the wall near our kitchen. Inside, it is Noah's latest drawing, a house with a wide porch, trees blooming on either side, and 2 figures in the middle, one tall, one small, both smiling. No one is missing. I stood there for a moment, just looking, letting it settle in. I didn't lose a family. I escaped one. And now we're building something better. Outside, the lake waits, the mist rising, a boy with a sketchbook, a mother who finally understands that love doesn't have to be earned through pain. There's nothing else to prove, and nothing else to say. Some families leave you behind quietly, not with shouts, but with silence. And sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is stop asking to be chosen. What I've learned is this: love isn't about who shares your last name. It's about who shows up, listens, and stays. Healing doesn't always come from forgiveness. Sometimes it comes from building something better, brick by brick, with the ones who truly care. If this story touched something in you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe you've been there too, and maybe you're building something beautiful now, just like we are.